Karapatan ko ang makapag-aral sa pamamaraang makabuluhan sa aking kultura at pamayanan.
Karapatan kong mag-aral para sa aking mga pangarap.
Karapatan kong matutunan ang sarili kong kultura.
Karapatan kong ipagtanggol ang aming lupaing ninuno.
Karapatan kong palagaan ang aking katutubong kaalaman.
An affluent cultural identity can be perceived in the great traces of the past that remains kindling the indigenous people. Pangasinan's identifying identity will not be as glorious as it is today without the indigenous people who inhabited in the land over the yesteryears. This people belongs to different tribes which represent distinct and imminent civilization that in one way or another plays a vital role in the society's awareness of its incomparable ethnicity. The linguistic and cultural diversity in the Philippines brings much complexity in the issues of language policy and education. With more than 7,000 islands and 181 distinct languages, the Philippines offers a challenging environment for implementing a language policy that can be served the whole country.
Yung lingwahe po ng mga tao dito, kung ano po yung ginagamit nilang mother tongue.
Ay, siyempre yung kangkanaay.
Yes.
Kangkanaay.
Kanay ang yung lingwahe dito.
Pag dito, pag doon sa baba, puro ng Pangasinan.
Alam niyo po magkan-kanay?
Hindi. Sila ang may alam dyan.
Yung ano sir, yung kankanay po ba na-adapt po ba sa pagtuturo ng mga guro dito sa mga
Ay, oo.
O mula
ano
pa
yung
kasi lang.
mother tongue na
Oo, kung ano yung
in-implement
budget
natin.
ng kwan, yun din ang tinuturo ng mga kwan yan.
kankanay, Pangasinan.
Dito, Kangkanaay saka Ilocano. Pero kaya nilang magpangasinan din. So, halo-halo.
Ano yung mga ano dito pa po mga culture na ginagawa niyo dito? Kapag may mga kasal, anong po yung mga
Ay, iba yung kwan nila.
kultura nila?
Pero yung iba, halimbawa, ang napangasawa ay taga-baba doon sa Pangasinan, pwede rin doon sila magpakasal sa bayan.
Kahit
Pwede rin
pwede yung babae po yung...
Pwede rin dito.
Ano po, yung sa kasal po, di ba, parang sa amin po, pag kasal po kasi, yung lalaki ang pupunta sa bahay ng babae. Parang yun po yung parang nakasanayan. Dito po, ano po?
Sila ang tanongin natin.
Dito kayo madam ay.
Dito.
Yes, sir.
Ano pong pangalan niya, ante?
Evelyn.
Evelyn.
So, gano'n nga po. Yung ano po, pagdating po sa mga parang sa kasal, parang sa, nakasanayan po sa Pangasinan, pagkasal po, ang parang papamanhika, lalaki pupunta. Tapos doon po sa gaganapin yung kasal, doon sa bahay ng babae. Sa inyo po, ano po yung nakasanayan pagdating sa kasal? Mga
Ganon din, ma'am.
Para lang din po.
Yung lalaki siya ang
Pupunta sa bahay.
ng babae.
May mga ano po, may mga parang ritual pa, may mga kultura-kultura pa po ba kayong ginagawa?
Yes, ma'am.
Ano po?
Gaya po ng ano po ate.
Kapag ngayon na kami ang sino ba yun sa
Parang kayo po yung pinaka-LD dito.
hindi, meron tayong mas matanda sa akin. Pero
Alam nila yung kwan.
Ano po yung ginagawa nilang ano po ate?
kapag
Baligi.
magbaligi sila
Ano po yung
Ano po
banding?
yun?
sa
Yung sayaw.
sayaw.
Sayaw
Sa
ng
kanila
igulo.
baligi sabi nila kasi sa English ba yun yung
Agnes, gumagano din siya.
oo, yung ganon.
Example nga po ate ng
Ganon. Kapag ano ba tumutunog yung ano ninyo, yung tumutunog yung
Patingting.
bating may gangsa.
Gansa.
Ganon. Yung babae ganon.
Opo.
Kapag yung lalaki ganon.
Parang
Palabas
uwak.
po.
Parang uwak.
Oo.
Ganun po.
Yung babae ganito din.
Yung ritual
Ting
dance.
ting 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 ting. Ganon din.
The 1987 bilingual education policies determined the language of instruction in schools to be Filipino and English. This is despite the fact that about 80% of the population does not speak either of this as a first language. Worldwide, nearly 7,000 languages are spoken today. Many languages are spoken by ethnic minorities, were educationally and economically disadvantaged because of limited language fluency. More than 200 million children globally live in homes where languages spoken are different than the ones used in school. These children are vulnerable to non-enrollment, repetition, and dropout. This gap must be bridged if country are to fulfill the Millennium Development Goals and the Education for All at aims. Language of instruction refers in the language designated for teaching in schools. It is sometimes called the medium of instruction. Education system may be designate the official or national language as the language of instruction in schools. The new language reform introduced mother tongue as the language of instruction as well as a separate subject area. This is referred to as mother tongue instruction.
Mother tongue based on multilingual education is already used in our curriculum. For how many subjects that we use the language of mother tongue. Ginagamit yung mother tongue para mas lalong maintindihan ng mga bata, lalo-lalo na sa araling panlipunan. Kung ano yung region mo lang, yun lang yung pag-aaralan mo, yung mga kultura nila. Kung sino-sino yung mga bayani dun sa lugar na yun lang yung pag-aaralan mo. And then, sa math din, pinag-aaralan din namin, ginagamit din namin ng mother tongue para mas lalong maintindihan ng mga bata kung ano yung mga dapat gawin sa mga problem po sa Pangasinan ispat book. Then, sa mother tongue, dinagdag yung mother tongue sa subject namin. Mother tongue subject is also the same in Filipino and English. In mother tongue lang nila para lalong lumawak ang kalaman nila at magamit nila sa pang-araw-araw nilang pamumuhay ng mga bata.
Mother tongue has been widely used. It can refer to a variety of situations including the language one identifies with, knows best, or uses the most. It refers to one's first language. Mother tongue-based multilingual education is described by Diane Decker as being more than just using the learner's first language to explain curriculum content. It emphasizes the importance of curriculum rooted in the local culture. Department of Education Order No. 16 Series 2012, the implementation of the mother tongue-based multilingual education. The state shall make education learner-oriented and responsive in the needs, cognitive and cultural capacity, the circumstances and diversity of learners, schools, and communities through the appropriate languages of teaching and learning, including mother tongue as a learning resource. Department of Education has issued a K-12 curriculum guide for the mother tongue as a learning area in grade 1 through grade 3. For grade 1, the learners demonstrates basic communication skills in talking about familiar topics using simple words and both verbal and non-verbal cues to understand spoken language, shows understanding of basic vocabulary and language structures, reading process, writing system, and appreciates aspects of one's culture. For grade 2, the learner demonstrates communication skills in talking about variety of topics, using developing vocabulary and simple phrases and sentences, simple to complex spoken language, using verbal and non-verbal cues, understands vocabulary and language structures, appreciates and understands the cultural aspects of the language and the writing system used, and reads and writes simple informational text. For grade 3, the learner demonstrates communication skills in talking about variety of topics, using expounding vocabulary and phrases, shows understanding of spoken language in different contexts, using both verbal and non-verbal cues, vocabulary and language structures, cultural aspects of the language.